We should be clear about who Charlie Kirk was. A man who believed that the Civil Rights Act that granted Black Americans the right to vote was a mistake. Who, after the violent attack on Paul Pelosi, claimed that, quote, some amazing patriot, unquote, should bail out his brutal assailant. And accused Jews of controlling, quote, not just the colleges, it's the nonprofits, it's the movies, it's Hollywood, it's all of it, unquote. His rhetoric and beliefs were ignorant, uneducated, and sought to disenfranchise millions of Americans, far from the working, quote, working tirelessly to promote unity, unquote, asserted by the majority in this resolution.
So you guys just seen that clip, and this is what I want to say, because I think right now in our country, people are feeling like you're either all in or all out regarding certain things. And I can comfortably say that when I seen what happened to Charlie Kirk, I was shocked and I was disgusted, because I am a person who does political content in this country. I don't want anything to happen to me or anyone else because of our political ideologies, because of our political speech. Now, you can hold two ideas in your head at a time. You can say, I didn't agree with this person's rhetoric, I didn't agree with their language, I didn't agree with their narratives, but what happened to him was disgusting and it was abhorrent. You are able to do those things. And right now, we're living in a time and a space where people feel like if you don't fall in line completely, then you are a problem. I am a person who understands nuance. I am a person who is able to comfortably say what happened to that man was disgusting and deplorable. And I'm also able to say that his language was damaging, it was dangerous, and it was very combative and confrontational to people who look like me. I'm able to say those things. And so I agree with what AOC said. And also, I believe that what happened to him was disgusting and it should never have happened. And so I want people to be able to have a conversation and like basically say, you know what, I didn't necessarily agree with this person. I felt like their language was dangerous or whatever the case, but what happened was wrong. Both things can be true. You can hold two ideas in your head. I had a live on YouTube, and it was the day after everything happened, the very next morning. And I talked about how horrific I thought that it was. And I wasn't a person who listened to a lot of Charlie Kirk. I didn't, to be extremely honest, I knew who he was, of course, but I didn't know his language. I didn't know all the things that he had said until after he passed away. And so the thing that he had said regarding Kamala Harris, and I believe it was Jasmine Crockett and Kamala Harris, those things, of course, I do not agree with those things. And so I can comfortably say he wasn't a person, he wasn't a messenger that I listened to or I thought was someone that was in the best interest of people who look like me, but he should still be here with his family. So I wanted to speak to that. I wanted to be very clear about that. I want to show you guys another clip, and then I'll talk about that. I'll give my commentary on the other side of that clip. Take a look at this. So you guys seen that clip. Sometimes I feel like this country wants Black people to be complicit in their demise. What that pastor said resonated with me tremendously, because like he said, I can abhor the behavior and I can say what happened to you was horrible. It was gruesome. It should never happen in this country. But wanting Black people to be complicit and to be quiet and to be obedient and almost celebrate someone who didn't care about their lives, but you want that person's life to be celebrated. And so now, like I said, I have not personally seen anyone celebrate Charlie Kirk's death. But remember, I'm mostly on YouTube and I'm mostly on TikTok. I am not on Twitter. I went on Twitter maybe like 2 or 3 days ago, and I was on there for all of 15 minutes. I couldn't do it. it was the toxicity. I couldn't do it. It was too much. So I'm mostly on YouTube creating content or watching my fellow content creators. I didn't consume a lot of Charlie Kirk's language and his rhetoric. After he passed away and people were saying some of the things he said, I went back and took a look at some of the things that he said, and they were very controversial things. They were things that were antagonistic and disrespectful to people who look like me. They were. And so we have to be able to coexist in this country. You're going to have people who agree with things. You're going to have people who disagree with things. But we can't have, right now, we have people basically saying they want to call in and have people terminated from their jobs. We had a conversation yesterday about government versus, private employee, private companies. So there's a distinction there. Right? The government should not retaliate. The government should not tell you what you can and cannot say because of freedom of speech. A company and an organization is different. A company can terminate you when they don't like your language or your rhetoric. But I still feel like it's going too far. And the reason I feel like it's going too far is because if you truly want to honor Charlie Kirk's legacy, if you are a person who supported him, you were a fan of his work, and you truly want to honor his legacy, he was a free speech absolutist, which means that free speech shouldn't have any conditions on it. So for people who are going after people who said that, they didn't care, because I've seen people be dismissive more so than I've seen people be like celebrate or be happy that he was unalived. I have not seen a celebration. I've seen people say that they didn't care. I've seen people say, oh, but he said this or he said that. But as far as saying, yay, I'm glad he's not here, I have not seen that. I think that that narrative and that rhetoric is being pushed to cause, the division is already there, but to kind of like make it worse. And like I said, I don't see everything. I don't know everything. So maybe there are people that's out there celebrating him being unalive. I have not personally seen it. But I want to go back to the point. If you truly support Charlie Kirk, if you were a fan of his work, if you were a person who believed in his principles and his ideologies and all of those things, he was a free speech absolutist. So from that perspective, you shouldn't want anybody to be demonized or antagonized or fired or anything for their speech, because that's something he advocated against. So it's so weird to me, and it seems performative when people are just like going after people who disagree with Charlie Kirk. When people are doing that, it seems very performative, because it's like, you couldn't have been a big enough fan of his, because if you were, you would know that he was completely against conditions being put on speech. That's something he advocated. He advocated for no conditions on speech. He advocated for free speech. He said things that I didn't like, but I would support his right to say those things even when I don't like what he said. That is another thing about freedom of speech. And I always say this, I'm like, this country is getting so far away from the Constitution, because freedom of speech, our First Amendment says that you protect the most, disgusting speech. The speech that you don't agree with, that is the speech that you support the most, because you don't support the speech, you support people's right to have the speech, to say what they want to say. And so if you truly, genuinely want to, like I said, I was not a fan. I was not a fan of his rhetoric. I was not a fan of his messaging. I was not a fan of his language. But if you are a person who was a fan of his rhetoric, his language, his messaging, then you should be advocating for free speech, and you should be a free speech absolutist. So you shouldn't be trying to get people canceled. Remember when the right hated cancel culture? Remember when the right was like so against, the left, they're such snowflakes and they cry about everything and you can't say anything, and anything you say, they want to cancel you. Now who is the party of cancel culture? Because it seems like it's the right to me. Like, it seems like now you guys are the party of council culture. Are we going to uphold the Constitution or not? Because if you look at the First Amendment, if you read it, if you truly believe in it, then you would know that speech needs to be protected. People have the right to say what they want to say. I am not saying that people should be out there celebrating a man being unalived and taken from his family. I would never do that, because it's not the type of person that I am. I would never do that. And people should be like, people should have the right to say what they feel, because that's what he did. That's what he did. He said what he felt, even when people didn't agree with it. He said his ideologies, his beliefs, even when people didn't agree with it. So now you people are going after, or now people are, not you people, but now people are going after people who's doing the exact thing that he did. That makes no sense. It literally makes no sense. So if you want to honor his legacy, if you truly believed in his rhetoric and his messaging, then honor his legacy and allow free speech to be absolute. And it's free speech is for all of us. It's not just for people you agree with. That's another thing that I feel like this country is getting away from. People are so in their echo chambers and in their little pockets, where the minute you say something a person don't agree with, they're done. And I have those barriers and boundaries for certain things, not speech, not rights. Like, he literally said that he felt like the civil rights was a bad decision. The civil rights gave black people the right to vote. So I'm a black person, a proud black person. That is language I would never agree with. That is rhetoric I can never get on board with. What he said regarding Kamala Harris and Jasmine Crockett, that is something I could never get on board with. But he had the right to say it. I didn't agree with it. I didn't like it. But he had a right to say it, because he had a First Amendment right to freedom of speech. And he had that right, and everybody else does as well. So when you start wanting to cancel people, when you start wanting to dox people, when you start wanting to get people fired from their jobs for language that he would have supported. Because if he was truly a free speech advocate, a free speech absolutist, that is language he would have supported. You don't have to like it. You don't have to like what people say. You just have to respect the Constitution enough to know they have a right to say it. So that is my commentary regarding the resolution. If they're gonna make it his day or whatever, to me, to be extremely honest, it is my mother's birthday. So that's what it will always be for me. So whatever Congress decides, I believe that they approved it. It was 50-50. Of course, our Senate, I was thinking about the Congress, I was thinking about House of Representatives, but of course our Senate is 50-50. And so J.D. Vance is the president, so he would have to break the tie. So from my understanding, 50 Democrats voted against it, 50 Republicans voted for it, and then of course J.D. Vance is a Republican vice president, so he apparently broke the tie in favor of the resolution. Fine. To me, like I said, me personally, October 14th is my mother's birthday. That's what it will always be. So I genuinely don't care, if I'm being honest. I don't care what they name it. It's my mother's birthday to me. So, but that is my commentary. Like, comment, and subscribe, and you guys have a phenomenal Saturday. Bye.